In 1961, in the town of Derry, Maine, a young boy named Matty Clements sneaks into a movie theater without buying a ticket. When an usher catches him, Matty runs away and escapes the building. Outside the town, a strange family picks him up in their car. They ask Matty where he wants to go, and he nervously replies, "Anywhere but Derry." As the car ride continues, Matty starts to feel uncomfortable. The family behaves oddly, speaking in unsettling ways and acting distant. To his confusion and fear, the car turns back toward Derry instead of leaving it. Suddenly, the mother begins giving birth right there in the car. What she delivers is not a normal baby, but a terrifying winged creature, which attacks and kills Matty. 4 months later, Captain Polly Russo and Major Leroy Hanlon, both Air Force pilots and Korean War veterans, arrive at the Derry Air Force Base, a highly important military base. Leroy is assigned by General Francis Shaw to pilot a powerful B-52 bomber. However, Leroy faces open racism from one of the airmen named Masters, making his new assignment tense and hostile. Back in town, Matty's disappearance still deeply affects the local kids. Teddy Uris cannot stop thinking about what happened to his friend, while Phil Malkin tries to convince Teddy to move on with life. Lily Bainbridge, another close friend of Matty, is still grieving the death of her father, who was killed a year earlier in a horrible accident at a pickle factory. One night, as Lily prepares to take a bath, she hears something horrifying. From the bathtub drain, she hears Matty's voice, singing "You Got Trouble" from The Music Man, the same movie Matty was watching the night he disappeared. Terrified, Lily tells Teddy and Phil about what she heard, but they struggle to believe her. That evening, Teddy eats Shabbat dinner with his Jewish family. He asks his father whether children could survive if trapped underground for a long time. His father responds by telling a painful story about Teddy's grandparents, who escaped the Buchenwald concentration camp during World War II, while most of their family members were murdered. He describes horrifying acts committed there, including making lampshades from human skin. Later that night, Teddy notices his bedroom lampshade flickering. Suddenly, it begins showing human faces, staring at him, leaving Teddy screaming in terror. The next day, Teddy, Phil, and Lily go to the local library to investigate Matty's disappearance. They discover an old newspaper article saying Matty was last seen with a girl named Veronica Ronnie Grogan. When they visit Ronnie's house, she refuses to help at first. But when Lily mentions hearing Matty's voice through pipes, Ronnie changes her mind. She admits she has also heard strange voices coming from the pipes at the movie theater, where she works with her father. Meanwhile, back at the Air Force Base, Leroy is attacked in his sleep by 3 masked men. They demand classified information about flying the B-52 bomber. Leroy refuses and fights back. Polly rushes in to help him, and together they manage to drive the attackers away, though the danger clearly isn't over. That night, Teddy, Phil, Lily, Ronnie, and Phil's younger sister Susie sneak into the movie theater. Ronnie starts playing The Music Man. As the familiar song plays, the children are shocked to see Matty appear inside the movie itself. He speaks directly to them, angrily blaming them for abandoning him. Suddenly, Matty unleashes the winged creature from the screen. The monster grows larger and chases the children through the theater. In a brutal and horrifying attack, Teddy and Phil are killed. Lily tries desperately to save Susie but fails. Ronnie manages to pull Lily out of the theater just in time. Once outside, Lily realizes she is still clutching Susie's severed hand, and she screams in overwhelming horror. After the violent incident in the movie theater, the people of Derry quickly decide that Hank Grogan must be responsible. Rumors spread through the town, and anger grows among the citizens. Many blame Police Chief Clint Bowers for not arresting Hank immediately. Bowers is harshly criticized and pressured by the townspeople, but the problem is that he has no real proof linking Hank to the attack. No witnesses, no solid evidence, only suspicion and fear. Around the same time, Leroy welcomes his wife Charlotte and their young son Will, who have just arrived in Derry to live with him. Soon after, Leroy is informed by Colonel Fuller about the investigation. Fuller explains that Masters has officially taken the blame for the theater attack. However, Masters refuses to reveal the names of the other masked men who were involved, protecting them despite being punished himself. Even though she is deeply shaken by what happened, Lily forces herself to return to school after a few days. She becomes distant and quiet, avoiding her friend Marge, who tries to help her fit back in and act normal. Lily feels isolated and overwhelmed, unable to explain what she is going through. While shopping in town, Charlotte notices a group of older schoolchildren attacking a younger boy. She steps in to stop the beating, but instead of receiving support, she is met with cold stares and disapproval from the adults around her. The townspeople choose to look away, acting as if nothing is happening. Later, when Charlotte talks to Leroy about the incident, he warns her not to interfere again. He reminds her of a past event where she became a target of vandalism, suggesting that the town can turn hostile toward anyone who stands out. That night, Ronnie suffers a horrifying hallucination. She imagines herself being pulled out from her dead mother's womb, while her mother's ghost accuses her of causing her death. Shaken by the vision, Ronnie confides in Lily. They talk about the version of events Lily told the police after the theater attack. Ronnie is scared that if the truth comes out, her own father might be blamed for what happened. Outside the town, at a military excavation site, Colonel Fuller grows impatient. He scolds Airman Dick Halloran for failing to locate what Fuller believes is hidden underground. Fuller is convinced that Halloran's strange gifts or abilities will eventually guide him to the object they are searching for. Meanwhile, Chief Bowers removes Lily from her classroom and takes her to the police station. There, he pressures her to change her statement about the theater attack. He threatens to send her back to Juniper Hill Psychiatric Hospital if she does not cooperate. Terrified and emotionally broken, Lily gives in. She falsely claims that Hank was present in the theater on the night of the attack. As a result of her statement, Hank is arrested. When Ronnie finds out, she is devastated and angrily confronts Lily, feeling betrayed by her friend. Overwhelmed by guilt and fear, Lily later experiences another disturbing hallucination while shopping, this time seeing her father as a grotesque, dismembered monster. Alarmed by Lily's worsening mental condition, her mother decides to send her back to Juniper Hill for treatment. Elsewhere, Leroy visits Masters in his prison cell. After carefully thinking through the attack, Leroy realizes something important: Masters could not have been one of the masked attackers. He notices that Masters is unable to properly load and handle a particular firearm, one that the attackers used with ease. This detail convinces Leroy that Masters was framed. Leroy reports this discovery to General Shaw. Instead of denying it, Shaw reveals the shocking truth: the attack was staged by him on purpose. It was a test to see whether Leroy could be trusted. Shaw then introduces Leroy to a classified operation known as Operation Precept. Shaw explains that as Cold War tensions continue to rise, the military is searching for a powerful psychological weapon, something that feeds on fear itself. They believe this weapon is hidden somewhere near Derry. Colonel Fuller then arrives with new information. At the dig site, they have uncovered a car filled with skeletons. The military believes this grim discovery may act as a beacon, guiding them closer to the terrifying weapon they are trying to find. In the year 1908, a young boy named Francis Shaw visits a carnival with his father, Monty. While exploring the carnival, Francis is drawn toward a strange attraction filled with so-called freaks. Inside, he comes face to face with a terrifying old man who has one missing eye. The man leans toward him and whispers, "Now you see it," frightening Francis so badly that he runs away in panic. His father quickly finds him and takes him home. On the drive back, their car suddenly breaks down. While waiting, Francis walks nearby and meets a Native American girl named Rose. She agrees to give him water, and in return, Francis gives her his slingshot. This simple exchange begins a quiet friendship between the two children. Later, while playing together in the woods, Francis and Rose realize they are being followed. The same one-eyed old man appears again, but this time he transforms into a massive, terrifying monster. Thinking quickly, Rose uses the slingshot to strike the creature, allowing both of them to escape from the forest unharmed. In 1962, Lily is finally released from Juniper Hill Psychiatric Hospital. She meets with Ronnie and opens up about the disturbing visions that still haunt her. Together, they meet with Will, hoping he can help them by developing the film that was shot during the night of the movie theater attack. At the military base, General Shaw learns that the abandoned car discovered at the dig site once belonged to a bandit leader. Records reveal that in 1935, the bandit and his gang were hunted down and killed by angry townspeople. Believing this discovery is connected to their secret mission, Shaw orders Dick Halloran to join a helicopter flight led by Leroy and Polly. Shaw believes Halloran must be physically closer to the area if his strange abilities are going to lead them to the weapon. To strengthen the connection, Shaw asks Halloran to touch Francis's old slingshot. The moment he does, Halloran is overwhelmed by a terrifying vision. He finds himself in the dark sewers beneath Derry, where a mysterious entity confronts him. The creature tortures Halloran by forcing him to relive painful memories of his dead grandmother. The vision is so intense that Halloran nearly falls out of the helicopter mid-flight, but Leroy grabs him just in time and saves his life. Once safe, Halloran explains to Shaw what he experienced, strongly warning him that whatever they are searching for should be left alone. Shaw later meets with Rose, now an adult, asking for her help in investigating the dig site. Rose is hesitant and explains that the Native American community believes the land holds ancestral remains and fears that digging there may disturb something sacred and dangerous. That evening, Halloran joins Leroy and his wife Charlotte for dinner. During the conversation, Halloran casually mentions Will, which immediately surprises Leroy. He had never told anyone at the airbase about his son. Later, in private, Leroy confronts Halloran and admits that he knows Halloran was one of the masked men involved in the theater attack. Halloran does not deny it. Instead, he explains that when he sensed Leroy's emotions during the attack, he felt something unusual. Leroy showed no fear at all. Meanwhile, Lily, Ronnie, Will, and Rich sneak out at night and head to a cemetery. They plan to perform a ritual taught by Rich's uncle, hoping it will summon the creature they believe is haunting Derry. However, once they arrive, Rich admits that he does not fully remember how the ritual is supposed to be done. Frustrated and scared, Lily and Ronnie leave on their bicycles. As they ride away, they are suddenly attacked by a terrifying creature. The entity causes intense hallucinations, forcing them to see their worst fears. Though shaken and injured, Lily and Ronnie manage to escape. Before leaving, they take photographs during the attack. Later, when the photos are developed, the images reveal something horrifying. the ghosts of Teddy and Susie, along with a faint image of a clown watching from a distance. Lily, Ronnie, Will, and Rich rush to the police station, hoping their photographs will finally prove that something inhuman is haunting Derry. They excitedly show the pictures to Chief Bowers, expecting him to see the same monsters they saw. Instead, they are horrified to discover that the developed photos show nothing unusual at all. The creatures do not appear in the images. Seeing this as his chance, Bowers quickly dismisses their story, calling it panic and imagination. He accuses them of spreading hysteria and orders them to leave the station immediately. Later, a peaceful fishing trip at the lake turns into a terrifying experience. While sitting near the water, Will is suddenly grabbed and dragged underwater by a monstrous figure. The creature takes the shape of a burned, battle-scarred version of Leroy, making the attack even more horrifying. Leroy reacts instantly and pulls Will back to safety. Shaken but alive, Will clings to Leroy as they sit by the lake. As they try to calm down, they notice a single red balloon slowly floating across the water, a silent reminder that the danger is not over. The horror follows them home. That night, Will looks through his telescope and freezes in fear. Standing silently in the street is a tall, shadowy figure with an unblinking stare, Pennywise. The clown does not move or speak, it simply watches the house. Terrified, Will runs to wake Leroy and tells him what he has seen. Meanwhile, Charlotte takes matters into her own hands. Using legal pressure and blackmail, she forces a police officer to let her speak with Hank in jail. She explains that his arrest is technically invalid because he was never given a proper bail hearing. However, the situation becomes more complicated when Hank admits that he had an affair with a white woman, something that could make things worse for him in a deeply racist town. Later that night, tension builds between Leroy and Charlotte when Leroy confronts her for secretly visiting the police station without telling him. Back at school, Lily and Marge finally make up after weeks of distance. However, the peace does not last long. Marge, overwhelmed by guilt over a prank she planned to scare Lily, suddenly experiences a terrifying hallucination. She believes her eyes have turned into writhing, worm-like creatures that begin crawling out of her eye sockets. Screaming in panic, Marge runs into the woodshop, desperate to claw them out of her face. Lily follows her and arrives just in time to stop her from hurting herself. But when other students rush in, they misunderstand what they see. From their point of view, it looks as though Lily has attacked and stabbed Marge, placing Lily in serious trouble once again. At the military base, Leroy spots another red balloon near the site and finally demands the truth about the secret project. General Shaw reveals new information from an interrogation. A Native American man named Taniel was caught trespassing near the dig site and questioned. During the interrogation, Dick Halloran uses his psychic abilities to enter Taniel's mind. Inside Taniel's memories, Halloran learns an ancient and terrifying story. Long ago, a powerful evil spirit called the Galoo came to Earth from the stars. For millions of years, it spread fear and destruction across the land. The native tribes eventually fought back, forging a special dagger from the same star that brought the creature to Earth. This weapon was able to wound and weaken the spirit. However, when settlers arrived and fear spread across the land, the creature grew stronger again. To contain it, the tribes created 13 stone pillars from the remains of the meteor and buried them around the edges of the ancient forest. As long as these pillars remain standing, the creature is trapped within the borders of what is now Derry and cannot fully escape. When Halloran presses deeper for the exact location of the creature, Taniel's mind reveals one final image, a hidden door leading to a rotting black house on Neibolt Street, a place that seems to be the heart of the evil haunting the town. While recovering in the hospital, Marge finally admits she was wrong. She apologizes to Lily for treating her badly and for not believing her warnings about the strange things happening in Derry. Lily accepts the apology, and the tension between them finally begins to heal. Later, Lily meets Ronnie, Will, and Rich at the standpipe to figure out what to do next. To their complete shock, they discover Maddie alive and hiding in a small tent nearby. Maddie explains that after the night of the attack, he was taken into the sewers and held prisoner by a clown. He says the clown kept him trapped for days, but he managed to escape when it fell asleep. Maddie confirms that Teddy and Susie are dead, but he also claims that Phil might still be alive, though badly injured and unable to move. Using the information gathered by Dick Halloran, General Shaw orders Leroy and Colonel Fuller to lead a military operation at a house on Neibolt Street. Their goal is to find the 13 stone pillars believed to be holding the creature in place. Despite strong objections from Rose, they force Taniel to guide them through the sewers beneath the house. Halloran goes with the team, but as soon as they enter the tunnels, he is pulled into a terrifying vision. He finds himself standing in a bathroom with his grandparents. Through their conversation, it becomes clear that Halloran keeps his painful memories locked away in his mind, like a box he refuses to open. The entity, taking the form of his long-dead and abusive grandfather, cruelly taunts him and pressures him to open that box. At the same time, chaos breaks out. The creature attacks the soldiers, killing 2 of them while appearing as a twisted, nightmarish version of Uncle Sam. During the confusion, Taniel escapes from Fuller's control but drops one of the stone pillars that Rose had given him for protection. When the creature later attacks Leroy and Polly, disguising itself as Charlotte, they realize they can no longer trust what they see. From that moment on, they agree to shoot anything that feels wrong or out of place. Meanwhile, Lily, Ronnie, Will, Rich, Marge, and Maddie enter the sewers on their own. To control their fear, they take some of Lily's mother's Valium, hoping it will keep the hallucinations away. As they move deeper underground, they reach a dead end, and there, they find something horrifying. Lying together are the bodies of Teddy, Susie, Phil, and Maddie. The truth becomes clear: the Maddie who traveled with them was never real. The creature reveals itself, transforming into Pennywise, and begins chasing the kids through the tunnels. During their escape, they unexpectedly run into Leroy and Polly. Believing the children might be another trick by the entity, Leroy panics and fires his weapon at Will. Polly jumps in front of him, taking the bullet instead. Badly wounded and dying, Polly looks at Leroy and tells him to make it count. Moments later, Polly dies from his injuries. In the chaos, Lily becomes separated from the others. Alone in the darkness, she is confronted by Pennywise again, this time taking the form of her father. As the creature rushes toward her, an orange light suddenly glows beneath the water. The light forces the clown to retreat. Lily follows the glow and discovers that it is one of the stone pillars, the same one Daniel dropped earlier. Elsewhere, Hank is being transferred to Shawshank State Prison. When the transport bus crashes on the way, Hank escapes during the confusion. He seeks out Ingrid, the woman he had an affair with, and convinces her to help hide him from the authorities. Back at the surface, Halloran climbs out of the sewers, shaken and disturbed. He is horrified to see Polly walking toward him, even though Polly is supposed to be dead. Halloran realizes the truth with dread: the mental box he kept locked inside his mind has been opened, and the rules that once kept reality safe are beginning to collapse. In 1935, a young girl named Mabel is living inside Juniper Hill Psychiatric Hospital. She tells the nurses that a clown has been visiting her and whispering to her. One night, a nurse takes Mabel down to the hospital basement to investigate her claims. As they walk through the dark hallway, they see a red balloon slowly floating toward a closed door. The door creaks open, and Pennywise steps out of the shadows, confirming that Mabel's fears were real. Back in 1962, Leroy has become increasingly paranoid and aggressive after learning about the horrors in the sewers. When he discovers that Will secretly went down there, he explodes with anger. He yells at Will and forbids him from leaving the military base ever again. Will argues back, refusing to be controlled. In a moment of rage, Leroy slaps his son. Heartbroken and angry, Will runs away and returns to his friends. Lily shows the group the stone pillar, explaining that Pennywise backed away the moment it appeared. She believes this means the pillar can protect them and wants to return to the sewers to fight back. Ronnie, terrified of losing anyone else, refuses to go, leading to a loud and emotional argument between the two friends. With Charlotte's help, a group of airmen secretly move Hank to hide him inside the Black Spot, a club where he might be safer. Dick Halloran strongly disapproves of this plan, sensing danger. When Leroy learns what has been done with Hank, Halloran finally opens up about his past. He explains that when he was a child, his grandmother taught him how to mentally create a box to lock away spirits and painful memories so they could not control him. At school, Marge grows closer to Rich, and the two begin to bond. Their peace is interrupted when the Patacakes approach and once again mock the group. This time, Marge stands up for herself. She insults them back and shocks everyone by showing Rhonda her damaged eye, which causes Rhonda to panic and vomit. Later, after experiencing another disturbing hallucination at school, Lily goes to visit Ingrid. While inside her house, Lily notices old family photographs on the walls. One picture freezes her in place. It shows Pennywise's original human form, a man named Bob Gray. As Lily looks around, she notices a clown costume and suddenly realizes something terrifying. The clown she saw in the cemetery was Ingrid herself, not the creature pretending to be her. Ingrid admits the truth. She explains that Pennywise was her father, Bob Gray, who disappeared under mysterious circumstances years ago. Ingrid never left Derry, hoping he would return. Eventually, she became a nurse at Juniper Hill. In 1935, she used Mabel as bait to draw Pennywise out. Ingrid tried to reconnect with him, believing the creature was still her father. Instead, Pennywise killed Mabel and later appeared to Ingrid in the form of her father just to torment her before vanishing again. Broken and obsessed, Ingrid spent years feeding children to the entity, believing that if she satisfied it enough, it would finally bring her father back. Ingrid now begs Lily to join her. She promises that the creature can become Lily's father too. Horrified, Lily refuses. She uses the stone pillar to attack Ingrid and escapes from the house. Later that night, the children reunite with the adults at a party being held inside the Black Spot. The mood is tense but lively, and Rich is even allowed to play the drums on stage. For a moment, it feels like a normal night. Meanwhile, Chief Bowers is officially removed from his position after failing to capture Hank. However, he soon learns from a woman that Hank is hiding at the Black Spot. Furious and desperate, Bowers instead meets with a group of angry men at a bar. He convinces them that Hank must be arrested immediately. The men agree to help him. Putting on masks and arming themselves, the group drives toward the Black Spot, preparing to raid the building and drag Hank out, unaware that something far worse is waiting for them inside. In 1908, a man named Bob Gray works at a carnival as Pennywise the Dancing Clown. His young daughter Ingrid dreams of becoming a clown just like him. Wanting to encourage her, Bob gives Ingrid her mother's old stage name, Periwinkle. That same night, while the carnival is quiet, a strange child appears from the woods. The child asks Bob for help finding his parents. Though uneasy, Bob agrees to help. He follows the child into the darkness, and is never seen again. Back in the present day, Clint Bowers arrives at the black spot with an angry mob. They surround the building and demand that Hank be handed over. Wanting to stop the violence, Hank offers to surrender himself. However, the patrons inside the club are armed and refuse to let the mob take him. Facing resistance, Bowers and his men pull back. Enraged, the mob sets the black spot on fire. As flames spread through the building, they begin shooting at anyone who tries to escape, turning the club into a death trap. Inside the burning building, Dick Halloran uses his psychic abilities to reach out to the spirit of an ancient tribal chief. The spirit reveals a hidden escape path. Halloran quickly leads Hank, Will, and Ronnie through the secret route. They barely escape as Pennywise appears, already feeding on the wounded and dying patrons inside the flames. Not everyone is able to escape. Rich, realizing there is no way out, locks Marge inside a refrigerator to protect her from the fire. In his final moments, he tells her that he loves her. Moments later, Rich is consumed by the flames and dies. Outside the club, Stan Kirsch, a member of the mob and Ingrid's husband, becomes stranded when his car breaks down. Ingrid arrives dressed as a clown, hoping to finally reunite with what she believes is her father. Pennywise appears and brutally beheads Stan in front of her. The creature then mocks Ingrid, coldly telling her that it was never her father. It exposes her to the deadlights, shattering her mind, and then disappears, sinking back into its long sleep. By morning, the horrific event is officially covered up. Authorities label the disaster as an electrical fire and place the blame on the club's patrons. Firefighters and paramedics work through the wreckage, treating survivors and clearing bodies. Believed to be dead, Hank is secretly helped by Charlotte, who arranges false identity papers so he can escape and start a new life. Local indigenous elders confirm that the creature has now consumed enough souls to enter hibernation. As before, it will sleep for 27 years before returning again. At the same time, the military takes control of the entire investigation. Halloran, now deeply haunted by the spirits of the dead, tells Leroy and Colonel Fuller that he has located one of the ritual pillars. The military retrieves the artifact. Fuller announces a sudden change in plans. Since the creature is dormant, they will no longer try to capture it. Instead, they will study the pillar to find the remaining 12. Back at the military base, the truth finally comes out. Leroy discovers that the pillar is being prepared for destruction in an incinerator, directly violating the official orders. He rushes to stop it, but General Shaw intervenes and reveals the horrifying reality. Shaw admits that the project was never about containing the creature. His real plan is to destroy all the pillars, freeing Pennywise from Derry and allowing it to spread terror across the entire United States. Shaw believes nationwide fear will force the country to unite under a single purpose. Overpowered and unable to stop it, Leroy watches in horror as the pillar burns. Shaw orders Leroy detained to ensure he cannot leave the base. Elsewhere, Will receives a phone call from a crying Ronnie. As he listens, her voice slowly distorts into the deep, monstrous growl of Pennywise. Refusing to give in, Will shouts that he is not afraid. Instantly, Pennywise appears before him and unleashes the deadlights, swallowing Will in blinding terror. A thick fog spreads over Derry as students at Derry High are called into the gym. There, the principal is revealed to be controlled by Pennywise, who exposes the students to the deadlights and leads them away to an unknown place. Lily, Ronnie, and Marge notice missing person posters of their classmates suddenly appear and realize all the students, including Will, are gone. They find blood leading from the empty school and follow it using an abandoned milk truck driven by Marge. Meanwhile, Leroy convinces Dick Halloran to help. They meet Rose, who foresees Pennywise heading toward the Penobscot River. If it crosses the river, it will fully escape the pillars that bind it. Rose explains they need a special dagger, made from the same material as the pillars, to replace the destroyed one and stop Pennywise. Halloran locates the dagger using his powers and learns Lily has it. Rose warns them the dagger can affect the mind, trying to return to Pennywise's lair. Even after crashing the milk truck, the girls catch up to Pennywise and the hypnotized students as they cross the frozen Penobscot River. When the girls try to save Will, Pennywise notices them and begins tormenting them, keeping away from the dagger and hiding in the fog. Pennywise separates Marge and reveals that she will have a future son, Richie Tozier, since it can see past, present, and future at once. Before killing her, Halloran traps Pennywise in a false memory of being Bob Gray, allowing the students to wake up. Will rushes to help as the adults arrive. Leroy and Taniel try to carry the dagger across the river to plant it beneath an ancient tree that marks the edge of the pillar's power. They are attacked by Shaw and his men, and Taniel is killed. Will takes the dagger, but it resists him, pulling toward Pennywise's lair. Pennywise breaks free from Halloran's mental trap. When Shaw tries to control it, Pennywise recognizes him and kills him instead. Pennywise races toward the far side of the river, but Leroy, Hank, and Rose slow it down. The children struggle to use the dagger, but Rich's spirit appears to help them. Together, they plant the dagger under the tree, forcing Pennywise to turn back into the deadlights and return to hibernation. Later, Marge speaks at Rich's funeral, while Halloran sees Rich's spirit comforting his parents. Lily visits her father's grave, and Marge tells her that her future son and his friends will one day defeat Pennywise. Still, she worries that Pennywise could travel through time. Lily replies that if that happens, someone else will stop it. Halloran leaves to work as a cook at a hotel in London. Leroy is honorably discharged and agrees to stay silent, choosing to remain in Derry with Charlotte to keep others from using Pennywise's power. Rose leaves Derry and gives her farm to Leroy. Will and Ronnie share a kiss before Ronnie moves to Canada with her father. Ingrid is sent to Juniper Hill. 26 years later, she discovers a patient named Elfrida Marsh has died by suicide. Ingrid comforts Elfrida's daughter, Beverly, saying, "They say in Derry, no one who dies here ever truly dies."